Proverbs 4:10-19. Listen, my son, and accept my words, so that the years of your life may be many. I have taught you the way of wisdom. I have led you along upright pathways. When you walk, your stride will not be restricted. Even if you run, you will not stumble. Hold on to discipline. Do not let it go. Guard it, because it is your life. Do not go on the path of wicked people, and do not walk on the way of evil people. Avoid it. Do not travel on it. Turn away from it and pass on, because they cannot sleep unless they are doing wrong, and their sleep is stolen unless they are making someone stumble, because they eat food obtained from wickedness, and wine obtained by violence they drink. But the path of righteous people is like the light of dawn, shining brighter until the day is established. The way of wicked people is like the darkness. They never know over what they stumble. The idea of freedom is really popular in Western countries like ours. Although I think the idea of freedom, as maybe it was intended by the people who started this nation, and freedom in the way that the Bible certainly talks about it, is not what most people think of when they think of freedom. For most people, the idea of freedom is the ability to do whatever I want, whenever I want. Even right now, as the United States and parts of Canada are talking about what it means to have free speech, some people have the idea that free speech means I can say whatever I want, whenever I want. While that may be what they mean, the Bible would actually say that's not a good idea. Neither is freedom of expression, or really freedom of religion. There need to be certain ways to curb those impulses of the human heart. Because given complete freedom, the sinful person will go into all manner of evil things. For example, we don't want to have a religion in our country whose main worship practice is chopping off other people's heads. We would say that is not a religion that is free to be practiced in our countries. Or, for example, freedom of speech. We don't want people to teach in our schools that what the Nazis taught in the regime of the 20th century is correct and should be taught. That racism against Jewish people, or that white people are supreme over all other races, that's not stuff we want taught in our schools. Now, we can argue about what things should be taught or shouldn't be taught, but the point is, we understand that a certain level of curbing is necessary for there to be actual freedom. See, the way the Bible talks about freedom is that unbridled freedom is actually slavery, because what you inevitably do is you go to whatever your strongest desire is. So do you have a desire to be rich, or a desire to have power, or a desire to have sex, or a desire to have control? You will go into that and you will give yourself wholly to it. You will think you are being free, but it's actually the worst type of enslavement, because you don't know it's even happening. And so what the Proverbs are telling us here is that wisdom is the curb that allows true freedom. You could think of it like this. If you take your dog out to a wide open field, your dog might like that for a while, but ultimately your dog can get itself in a whole lot of trouble by going off the field into some woods or running into a road. There needs to be a fence. That's why dog parks are really effective. They're big and they allow the dogs to run around and to play and to dig and to sniff other dogs or whatever dogs do, but within certain parameters. Once they're within those parameters, not only does the dog enjoy it, but the owner enjoys it also, because they know their dog isn't going to run into the road, get hit by a car, run into the creek, and get really smelly, whatever the case may be. And so for the human being, what is the curb? The curb is wisdom. The curb is discipline. The way that Solomon says it here is, if you give up discipline, you give up your very life. You give up the ability to say no to yourself, to set principles by which you are going to evaluate every single thing you do, then you lose what it means to live free. Human beings want freedom to be unbridled, to do whatever they want. But the way they're designed is actually to live within a certain parameter. And so as one pastor said it, a boat is only good when it's in the water. It may want to be on the land, but it will not function, and in fact it will break if put on the land. But in the water, a boat can do beautiful things. And so what is the water that the boat of humanity is riding in? It's God's word. And so Solomon here pleads with his son, know God's word, know wisdom, know the parameters, and live within them. It may not seem like freedom at first, but ultimately it will allow you to live in a way that he describes as walking or running without being restricted. Have you ever done a 3-legged race, or maybe had some shorts or some pants that were a little too tight? You know, it's not comfortable to be restricted in your walk or your running. But to run free is a beautiful feeling. And when you know where you can and you can't run, running free is exhilarating. That's how to grow up.